Totally inconspicuous booby trap. A little bit of shop fun here. Oh. Yeah, probably be better if I didn't see it, but it's still funny. So anyways, here we are, impromptu video, because I don't have much time left before I depart. So this is going to be the semi-reveal of the DECH No.005 project. So if you guys have been following along, or you might have seen a video from the past, this car a couple years ago was to be sent off to Foxbody heaven. It got, I guess, its last little trip of glory to the De Silva Sick Kids Car Show back in 2018. I can't even remember the years anymore with COVID and everything else. And got the car back and started stripping it down. Now, I wanted the car. You know, I tried to win it on a Bring a Trailer auction a couple years prior, going back and forth, and then I bought it. And the reasoning behind this car is primarily due to the fact that it is a numbered DECH car. It was even originally registered to Derek Hansen himself before the Ford dealer even got it. And there's a lot of history behind this one. So you guys can check out some of those other videos if you like, if you haven't already. But the car is here, it's up in the air. I'm about to put it down on the ground, and it's gonna be the last video that I can do on it until I get back to Canada. So quite a bit of work has been done in the past few weeks, and I was really hoping to be able to get it on the road and have it running and driving, but there's a few obstacles that are keeping me from doing that. Number one, the Koni Struts and Shocks are still not in yet from Holland. Number two, there's no rear brakes, and I think that's pretty much it. There's no exhaust other than the X-pipe, but that doesn't really stop you from driving it. In fact, could even make your drive a little bit more fun. Oh, you're taking them off already?
Oh yeah, take them off.
So
I got what I need.
I do have a little bit of footage here and there, but it's been go, 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 trying to get things ready, wrapping up my life, trying to get ready for Foxtoberfest and getting down south to the warmer weather, which Dale's extremely envious of. I haven't heard the end of it, but here's the car. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit of the underside and what's been done. And after that, we'll get the car back down on the ground. Then you'll be able to see kind of the greater picture because the interior is all buttoned up. The engine bay is almost there, but this is a 90% car in terms of completion. Once it's fully completed, I'll do a full proper video of this thing. But for now, this is what you're going to get. So starting off in the back here, you can see the ASG system. It's loosely bolted into place. I'm going to wait until I can get Peter Hansen here himself, who was the one who R&D'd this whole setup. And he's going to be able to set this up for me and get it all right, because there's very important elements in terms of where all the bars need to be adjusted and all of the angles when the car is fully loaded on its suspension. So we will get into that later. One of the biggest things that was the main obstacle was this bar right here. And I had to do some custom modding. In fact, this is not yet completed, but it is in place. And that was kind of one of the biggest challenges of putting this car back together, is just finding all the parts and making sure you have all the hardware and everything that you need, because otherwise you end up spending a lot of time looking for things and not being necessarily productive to put things together. So you can see the whole underside of the floor is black. That was a horrible job to do, but it looks really clean. And I actually have the hoist arm in a different spot today. You can see what the underside looked like. And now I need to clean all this up and get some paint on here because this is where the hoist arm was when I did the underside. What an amazing difference from looking like that pretty much on the whole underside of the car to what you see now. So really happy with the way that this turned out. There is a full video on that. All the products that I used and the steps that I went through. So that was kind of the beginning of putting everything back together in terms of the drivetrain, because you wouldn't want to try and attempt doing this, you know, if your exhaust is there and your engine and your transmission and your rear end and everything else. So once that was done, we had to get into putting in our drivetrain. So you can see behind me here, everything's looking nice and clean. Engine and transmission, it went in all in one piece. Didn't try and put the motor in, then the transmission after. Took it all out in one piece. I was like, we're gonna put it all in one piece. So managed to do that, got the right angle, got that motor in, and then, you know, put the, actually, did I have the G-load brace on first? I can't even remember, but that all went in, got the aluminum drive shaft. Did notice that this pinion bearing was super loose before. It was clunking, banging, making all types of noises. I really noticed it once the drive shaft was on. Like you could take this and you could move it back and forth. So ended up actually taking the drive shaft back off, drove the nut down a little bit further, tightened everything up. How long it's gonna last, I do not know. Was it loose? Is the bearing worn out? I guess we'll find out once we start driving the car. That's all taken care of. It's all buttoned up. The rear end is the one that was in the car originally with a set of 355s, and it's a 4-wheel disc setup, which my calipers were seized. Utilizes the turbo coupe rear calipers, so waiting on those. Ran all brand new 3/8 nylon line. This allowed me to get away from the corroded, rusty stock lines and make my life a little bit easier in terms of overall routing. So it, for the most part, follows all of the factory routing all the way up to the front, up and around, and right here, even utilize the factory clips onto the lines that go up to the fuel rails. Also got a new tank and put an aeromotive pump in there. So there's going to definitely be more than enough fuel supply going to the motor. Brake lines. So that one was shop dad all the way. And I'm going to show you guys some of his work on what he's done. Now you got to remember this car had the DECH Willwood brake upgrade in the front, which actually has a floating rotor setup that utilizes a factory spindle. And then they have their hub setup that bolts onto the spindle. And then from there, you have your rotor brake bracket set up and everything else. When it comes to running the rear brake line more specifically, I didn't want to run something all the way across the firewall, down the passenger side, all the way down the passenger side of the car and up and around just to get it to this distribution block here. That's actually on the driver's side. Never really understood why Ford did that. Probably just a good balance between the 4-cylinder versus the V8 cars, because the 4-cylinder cars, the fuel lines actually run on the driver's side. Maybe that was some of the rationale behind it. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, so what we decided to do is run them along, or the brake line, we ran it along the driver's side. So it's going all along here, as you can see, and I sneakily mounted the proportioning valve up here between the floor and the torque box. You can actually see one of the floor repairs here that was rusted and welded and sealed up, but now our proportioning valve is right here. You know, be able to reach underneath the car, and really once things are set, you really don't need to do much with this. So I'll probably get a rubber cap to go over it just to keep debris and anything else out. But thought that was kind of a cool location to get that routed to. So here we go. Other than that, you can see in the front, you know, normal standard stuff. Got our steering rack bolted in, got the sway bars front and rear bolted in, all brand new bushings, energy suspension poly, and you know, a little bit of the red brings out the accents of the DECH springs and the G-load brace. And that's pretty much it for the underside. Things are looking nice and clean, and wired up the electric fan, which some of the wiring is down there. Just need to tidy a few little things up. And once the struts are in and happy with the way everything is in the inner fenders, then we can get our actual inner fender liners installed. to keep things clean and tidy underneath. But that's it for the bottom side of the car. So we'll get this thing down on the ground. I'll walk you through the engine bay, the interior, and we'll see if this thing will still start up. Start up time. Look at that. Courtesy lights. She's running, idling away. This is the first heat cycle, and I'm going to bring the car through, let it get up to temperature, see how it does. Check the TPS. We're just about 1.05, and then I did turn the idle screw up just a little bit more. So I'd say we're hovering around 1.1 or so. I did have it lower, but with the lump of the cam, it seemed like it was searching a little bit. So the car still needs to learn, obviously, but everything seems to be running. Accessories are spinning. I have the drive belt hooked up. Alternator's charging. So I'm really happy. It's unfortunate I didn't get to drive it this time around, but this right here is what it's all about, right? Guys, busted out the timing light. Seem to have got things set up here, so we'll see how she runs, and hopefully while I'm away Dale will get the brakes sorted out, and he's actually going to be the first one who gets to drive it. Car's back inside. I did very carefully drive it underneath its own power, and I had this emergency block right here just in case I wasn't going to be able to stop, but rolled it in perfectly as Mr. Notorious shows up, so it's all good. But here we are underneath the hood in the engine bay. So if you guys remember, this motor was all red. Everything was red. Intakes, block, oil pan, all those things. So it was all cleaned up, done all nice. Even the cold air intake, that chrome is gone, and it is now a satin black, and cleaned up as much as we could. All the wiring harness was retaped up and cleaned. Got it all kind of tucked underneath the lip there on the firewall, and came out really nice. So I got lots of videos that show everything on that. Car got right up to temperature, so everything is good. Fan controller, everything else is working, so we seem to be good there, other than the fact that we just need the brakes to be done so we can stop. You can see down here all the fancy brake line work that was done. So all the Willwood parts there, and you know, we'll have to get this plate off, and so have to get filled up and bled. So that'll be a job for Dale once all those rear brakes come in. So that's pretty much it for the engine bay. The exterior, well, we've gone over all of those things, and it is filthy right now. Front springs aren't the right springs for the car right now. That's why it is sitting a little bit lower, and the isolators aren't in there either. So I will get the nice fresh set that I have down in Texas, and they're gonna go in the car. Interior, finally all back together here. And if you remember, all of this was cleaned up and re-dyed with SEM Presidio Gray, which is the closest that you will get to the smoke gray color found in your 87 through 89 Fox bodies. So that was all done, taken apart. We even got the factory radio redone by, what's his name? Lance? Something with an L. I will put his details in the description below, so you guys can check that out, because the Bluetooth functionality is super sweet. Actually, Jordan, if you don't mind, pop that door and just hit the lights on once. So you can see this car is actually one, damn dinging. Get rid of the ding. Oh, because the lights are on. So, all right, you can close the door. At least the lights are on. I'll leave the lights on, close the door. So you can see we got all of our LEDs upgraded. So this car does have the courtesy lights that are on the underside of the dash on either side, which is a real nice feature. Those are LED. Got our LED bulb hiding underneath the ashtray in here, and in the glove box. Got LEDs in our center gauges in green, and all throughout the cluster and the climate controls. One thing that you guys might be wondering, at the show, this dash pad was actually signed by Derek Hansen himself. And funny enough, when I was moving a bunch of stuff between Canada and Texas, the dash pad was actually stored in a very safe place. So safe, everyone forgot where it was until I remembered I had it behind the seat of my Lightning. And when my Lightning got sent down, well, so did the dash pad. So it's actually sitting on my toolbox down in Texas. And my one concern was, because I had resprayed everything, although it looks nice and clean, there's no way I was going to spray over Derek's signature. So I'm thinking I'll just leave that dash pad out of the vehicle for now, kind of have it there, so to avoid any sun fading or, you know, chemicals and stuff wiping on it. And so I went ahead and got another dash pad and dyed that one up, and went ahead and put in these 3 gauges in the center vents. So I figured it'd probably be a pretty good thing to monitor engine vitals with the motor being built and everything else, and just making sure that obviously the temps are where we need them, and our oil pressure is good, which everything is checking out right now and everything is working. So really happy with that. And Recaros are swapped. So before it had, I forget the name of those Recaros, but the ability to run your seatbelts through here for your racing harnesses and everything else. Never been a fan of those Recaros, and I had these available. They're not perfect, but hey, they still look good. So I got these in the front, and then I updated the rear seat with tweed. So tweed in the back and in black. All the hatch carpet, everything else is black carpet on the ground here. And just kind of a nice gray and black theme. So really happy with the way that that turned out. So that's pretty much it for the semi reveal of the DECH No.005 car. And the remaining 10% of everything that needs to be done will be carried out next year. We'll get that ASG set up. We'll get the Konis installed. There'll be brakes so we can stop. And maybe we'll see this thing back on Mossport's racetrack, or as we now call it, the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And we'll see what it can do, but so far so good. It sounds good, looks good, and really happy that this car ended up getting saved. What more could you ask for in the end, right?